deck I made and used to get to Sapphire. Also, keep in mind, this is my first time playing Shadowverse World Beyond. I played Shadowverse, the first one, for maybe a little bit on my phone back in the days, so I wouldn't even count it as a card game I played. So my card game experience is a little bit lower than most, but this is what I used to deal with the ladder climb and make it quick and efficient. I played around with some other ones, but I feel like this is my favorite. And the purpose of this deck is just pretty much getting in there and kind of doing what Dragon deck does with aggro, is just going straight for face. No one really expects the Centaur, so we kind of stack Centaurs in this deck. I enjoy it for the Super Evolve going face, and that's my goal. So we pretty much start out with this deck to go for an early start with like Flash Step Quick Blader, and they help out pretty much by the time we get to round turn 5 or so. They usually are about 10 HP to maybe 14, depending on how the pace of the game goes. Some people actually quit the game because if they get a bad draw, how aggro this is at going face, that they just leave the game. Now, is this like a perfect deck that's going to win you every game? Probably not. But if you're trying to go into a game, get in there and get out, I think this is pretty effective. It also has late game potential. Geno is great for late game and making great trade values, and they have to answer to Geno. If they don't, then you just pretty much hit them twice in the face. Amalia, they dictate the game's pacing for between mid and late game, and it can bring you back into the game to actually win it. So they're in there. So like if you can't get the early win and it gets drawn out because they get good draws, then they kind of taper off to bring you back into the game. So it's strong early. Mid, I feel like, is the weakest in the deck. I feel like somewhere between when you start dropping between 4 to 6 cost, that's where I feel its weakness in this deck is somewhere between there, between 4 play points and 6 play points. It kind of has that, like the dogs are really good at 6, but you might be in a pickle where you need to use something on turn 5, and you're not going second, so you can't +6. So there are moments where I feel a little bit of weakness. I tweaked it a little bit. I added the arms peddler into this for a feel of a little bit better, I guess, like in that part where we're going into like the middle part of the game. And I added him. Now you don't have to have him. You can get rid of him if you want to trade him out. There's other options you have to trade out. I mean, we have the Shinobi Squirrels. They're great for evolving, plussing up. I had run the healing card, what's her name? Larala Luminous Potion, right? However you say that name, I might have butchered it. I've used her to put a little pressure in and heal me back up, because the problem with this deck, the con, is that we don't have any health coming from it, health generation, like at all, unless you use that. And we're not going to get baited into using that Tentacle 7 cost card, because by the time you use 7 points to use, they're probably not 5 HP. It's only won me 1 game ever as a YOLO card. I don't recommend it. You do you, though, if you want to use it. The Iron Crown Majesty, I have ran that as well instead of the Arms Peddler, so you can take it in and out. It just depends on how you want to either buff up or put more on the board with a 3 cost count. That's great. I've had them. You can tweak it a little bit. You can take out Arm Peddler if you want to and put another Hound in, and so you have 3 Hounds. You don't have to do what I did as well if you want to tweak it. Get rid of Ian. Add more Apollos if you need to, but I feel like Ian's really good with the early pressure because he can plus it up and he puts down a ward at the same time. And sometimes people can't answer to that, and it keeps them on the board longer, or they have to spend resources to answer to this early. And I found him to be pretty useful. But if you're going for, I guess, a more tempo, then I guess he falls off, because your early game cards are not going to be used, I guess, at the tempo speed that you would use him for. So compared to my friend's deck, like they don't use flash steps. So they would probably just be using Luminous Lance Trooper. You can use it with her. I've done it, but that'd probably be like your lower cards, and you're probably not going to use it on your Samurai because your Samurai is probably going to trade with Bane and just kind of like suicide. So it doesn't really hold a purpose in one of those trying to keep up and waste resources to win the game. So once again, purpose of this deck is just pretty much go face as much as possible, and that's it. Let me know what you guys think and enjoy. And if you have any change or variants of it for going face, share it. Have a great day.